Do me a favor. Could you say senator instead of ma'am?
I love these members that get up and say, read the bill.
What difference at this point does it make?
The whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
We know that the free market is nonsense.
This liberal will be all about socializing, will be about basically taking over and the government running all of your companies.
The time has come for unfiltered, politically incorrect common sense. Welcome to the wild world of Cowboy Logic.
And good evening once again, everyone. I'm Donna Fiducia, along with Don Neuen, and welcome to the wild, woolly world of Cowboy Logic, where we hopefully will give you some of the information the mainstream media, the MSM, will not give you in this day and age of political correctness and trying not to offend anybody. There's so much going on. It's so funny. Just before we went on the air, I said to Don, what are the scandals now? You have to write a list.
Yeah, exactly.
And we do this. I mean, at least I've done it for a living for so long, and I just love to read the news all the time. It's like a passion more than anything else. But I really believe this is the whole idea, to create chaos, to have so much going on, so much crap thrown against the wall, quite frankly, that you just can't even keep track of it. But it is starting to implode just a little bit as the plot thickens. More people coming out saying they think they were targeted because they backed Mitt Romney. Of course, you have the whole IRS scandal, AP and Fox being attacked, among other journalistic endeavors, for lack of a better way of saying it, the Department of Justice. And I think this is all culminating very nicely with what Jay Leno had to say this week. And notice how Jay Leno's numbers are just skyrocketing. I think he's really talking for a lot of people.
Is David Letterman still on the air?
Yeah, he is.
Okay.
But nobody really notices. Anyhow, Jay Leno joked that the president should close the IRS rather than Gitmo, to thunderous applause. And maybe the media members better start looking at this stuff, because they're talking for a lot of people that are, they're not talking for a lot of people that are totally, really peeved at this point.
Yeah, but the thing is, Leno threw the dart, but he missed. He needs to go to Congress for this. Congress can shut it down.
Well, yeah.
Congress can abolish it. President doesn't have that power.
Yeah, but still. He says it in jest, but it's
and
it's
clearly,
not so funny anymore.
This administration doesn't have any international power, because I believe it was John Kerry that
hello, Vlad. Knock, knock. Will you come out and meet me, please?
No, Miss Secretary Kerry, you need to sit here outside the principal's office and wait for Principal Putin to see you 3 hours later. Let me ask you something. Didn't the Gilligan's Island show start on a trip that was supposed to be 3 hours long?
Yeah. Well, you want to send John Kerry on a trip that's going to be 3 hours long?
Well, that's how long he waited for Putin to come out of his office to talk to him. Wow.
That's too funny. We have a great show ahead today, and it's just an honor to be able to talk to this gentleman one more time. I interviewed him a number of times at the Fox News channel. I'm talking about Major General U.S. Army retired Paul Vallely. He is a 2-star general, and his list of accomplishments is so long. I'm glad we really don't have a time restraint at all.
It could take us 2 hours to tell everybody what this guy's done.
It's 2 pages, single typed, and then some. Graduate of the Infantry School, Ranger and Airborne Schools, Jump Master School, the Command and General Staff School, the Industrial College of the Armed Forces, and the Army War College. He retired in 91 from the U.S. Army as Deputy Commanding General, U.S. Army Pacific in Honolulu. He graduated from West Point. commissioned in the Army in 1961, serving a distinguished career of 32 years. He's been everywhere. Probably a lot of places we don't want to hear about either, quite frankly. From the Pacific Rim all the way into the Middle East and beyond. He is also the chairman of Stand Up America and the co-trustee of the Scott Vallely Soldiers Memorial Fund, all of which we will discuss with him when we have him on in the next half hour, and I'm so looking forward to that. But he's got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of good information, and a lot of web of information coming out of the Middle East that a lot of people really aren't talking about.
He's going to talk about things tonight that many of you guys that are listening are going to go, yeah, I knew it. I knew it.
Mm-hmm. And you just
Then he's
know.
going to talk about stuff that is going to creep you out as to what's going on.
Yeah, I know. It is very scary. You just don't think that some things can happen in your country. When we were growing up, it was like, oh, look at Russia. They're a bunch of idiots over there. Look what they're doing. Hello. A lot of that stuff is happening here if we don't rein in our government at this point. But we'll talk about that with him. In the meantime,
let me touch on one thing based on what you just said.
Okay.
On my way home from Atlanta today, I was talking to one of the guys that I work with, and I trust that he's listening right now. I don't want to. Well, his initials are Bones Crawford, and so I trust that he's listening because he told me he would be. But one of the things that we talked about on the way home is that 5 years ago, none of us could even wrap our head around what would be going on with this. And that the people that actually supported this administration in 2008, early 2009, they're not seeing, unless you're a far left progressive, you're not seeing what you thought you were going to see.
Unless you like grape Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
You're not going to see it. And you know what? I didn't vote for him. Everybody obviously probably can figure that one out. However, I wanted so badly for him to succeed because I really thought that having an African American in the White House was showing how far this country has come. I mean, find me a country in Africa that would elect a white person as its president. Ain't gonna happen. And so I was proud of that fact. And I really thought that he could be a uniter. And I find now it's obviously a great divider.
I asked Bones today, I said, can you even fathom how divided this country is now? And I got to tell you, on Inauguration Day in 2009, I was standing at my office. We were all standing around the television watching this thing take place. And I welled up, and I had tears running out of my eyes.
Because you were thinking the same thing I was.
No.
Oh.
I was struggling with two emotions. One was exactly what you had said, which is finally, Dr. King would have been just elated. That's what I was thinking, was about Dr. King. Mm-hmm. The other thought was, we are screwed. And I don't know what the tears were coming out for. I don't know whether it was that I was so concerned that, of who we had elected, or the pride of having at least a half black guy, in the office.
I didn't like the fact that we didn't know anything about him. And you find all this stuff and you say, you're a birther, you're a birther.
We
well,
did
you know
know
what?
about him.
Find me the birth certificate that's not doctored. This guy couldn't play Little League baseball with a birth certificate like that. I'm sorry. A social security number that comes from the state of Connecticut where he never lived. Well, that's just another story. Point is, he came from out of nowhere into the White House, and I was willing to give the benefit of the doubt. And what's happened now is there's such a polarizing effect among the people. Think about it. Even when you go to work, do you think twice about saying anything political now, whereas even a couple of years ago you would never have thought that? Do you think maybe I better keep my mouth shut?
No.
In case you don't. But most normal people. But you're not normal. Do you think, maybe I better not say that because I'm going to get audited? And by the way, it's been nice working with you. Nice knowing everybody.
Yeah.
Because that really has come across so many people's mind at this point, and it shouldn't. Because what happens is, again, liberty is when the government fears you. Tyranny is when you fear the government. One of those old white guys said that.
Hey, I want to ask all you folks out there, if that are advocates of the public school system in the United States.
Child abuse.
according to Neil Bortz.
Yeah, and I agree. I'm stealing that Bortz.
Man, I miss Bortz.
I do too.
God almighty.
What a great guy.
Anyhow, the lovely state of Maryland,
Mm-hmm.
an 11-year-old kid was suspended for 10 days for talking about a gun on a bus.
Well, there was a kid who brought in a toy
Nerf
gun.
It was a Nerf gun.
Another kid is suspended for making a gun motion with his, finger sticking out in his thumb.
10
like he's
days
pulling the trigger.
The kid was suspended. He's an 11-year-old. 10 days he was suspended. I was suspended in the 5th grade.
For what?
For fighting.
Yeah, okay.
For 1 day.
I should tell a story about my son, Jeffrey, when I decided to pull him out of the public school system. And where I lived in New Jersey was supposedly a very good public school system. Wooten Township, New Jersey. I'm going to say it. He was a bigger kid, and a kid 2 years older
That's right,
than him.
you said it.
That's right, I said it. He was a bigger kid, 2 years older than him. He was a big kid, and another kid that was a couple of years older than him kept beating up on him during lunch. So finally, he fought back, and he punched the kid right in the nose and gave him a black eye. To which I said, well, you know what? If that's what the kid deserved, that's what the kid deserved. And there were a bunch of people who saw it happen and agreed that my son was very tolerant until eventually it was getting ridiculous. None of the parents said anything, though, because they didn't want to say anything. The parent advisors on the playground, because this happened at playground during lunch. So he got sent to the principal's office. And the thing is, the problem is, when you punch somebody in the nose, there's obviously a visible black eye. And there was nothing that really happened to my son except he was being pushed around and, kind of pushed into the ground. So my kid gets suspended and not the other one. So I call up the principal and I said, what's going on here? The principal's like, well, he hit somebody. I said, well, that's fine. I agree maybe he should get suspended, but why was he only suspended, not the other kid who was the aggressor? Well, we didn't see it. I said, well, talk to some of the kids in the school. Well, we have he didn't want to hear about it. We have a zero tolerance policy. So fast forward to the local Catholic school in Parsippany, New Jersey, which was just the best school my kids ever went to, and I'm so sorry I moved out of that area so I couldn't continue having them go there. I go and I talk to the sister there that's in charge, and I tell her what happened. I said, my son didn't want to, hit back and blah, 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 and he got suspended. The other kid didn't get suspended. She said, I hope he punched him back right in the nose. And I'm like, okay.
That sounded like Hillary Clinton.
Sorry. And I said, where do I sign? And that was it. Pulled my kids out. But see, the problem is, they don't care because that's 2 less kids that they have to educate. They're still getting the public school money, and there's no accountability. Not to mention the fact that they didn't learn anything, but that's besides the point. There's a huge fly in this room that I'm just going to have to smack.
Well, we live on a farm.
Yeah, I know. Anyhow, so the plot thickens here. Pro-marriage group thinks the IRS leaked Mitt Romney donor information to a human rights campaign back in 2008. Apparently, Romney donated $10,000 to a pro-marriage group, and a video, apparently the, not a video, I'm sorry, the group that leaked this, it's now backfiring on them because obviously they shouldn't have leaked this information that Romney donated this money. It's just, I guess they're saying a few rogue IRS agents caused this problem, in Cleveland, kind of like a video caused the Benghazi attacks, but that's just not.
We're going to get into that
that's
tonight.
That's just not an excuse anymore.
Oh, I can't wait.
And it's just so much going on. You've got Obamacare that's a train wreck, an absolute train wreck. It really is. People are trying to figure out what on earth is going on and if they're going to have any health care. Oh, and if so, with all these doctors that are retiring and 30 million more people coming on the welfare rolls, how long they're going to have to wait to get anything. And so many more people on public assistance, of which I am going to be one.
Oh, yeah.
I am going to go on disability. I've decided, you know what? When I was growing up, your mother and your father said, hey, if you're going to be a failure, you go work for the government. Otherwise, make something of yourself. Well, you know what? I've decided
Did they say
I'm going
it that
to
way?
get in. Pretty much.
Okay.
Pretty much. I've decided that the heck with it. I'm not going to work anymore. I'm going to go on disability along with however many millions have gone on disability. That's why they're not counted in the, unemployment ranks, and that's why unemployment is still relatively low at 7.8%.
And how are you going to do it?
I'm going to do it because I think that I have a mental disorder. Left myself open there with that one, didn't I?
I live with you. I know you have a mental disorder.
All right, my mental disorder is not what you think. It is caffeine withdrawal. Yep, caffeine withdrawal can drive you crazy, folks. This is on the Drudge Report. Read it for yourself. So much so, the latest version of Psychiatry's Bible, DSM-5 it's called, is naming caffeine withdrawal as an actual mental disorder that may enable you, I guess, I'm saying this now, to go on disability. If you have more than 250 milligrams of caffeine, that's 2 to 3 cups of brewed coffee. I do that before 8:30 in the morning. I start with carafe, and I must have 2 or 3 carafes.
All right, listen. I need to tell you the significance and explain to you the significance of what you're talking about right now. Mm-hmm. Mental disorder. Mm-hmm. Okay?
I know we joke about it, but it's really not funny.
No. This is real serious. A few months ago, legislation came up about the gun bill, okay? Which I read the entire thing. The one thing they kept saying over and over and over and over in the gun bill was mental disorder.
And how many people have gone to a shrink?
As a result, you can be banned, restricted, limited in your ability to obtain a firearm due to a mental disorder. Now, how many people have woken up feeling like crap because they slept in and they didn't have 3 cups of coffee before 11 o'clock in the morning?
No, and it's true. And
but
this
the
really,
thing
you
is,
do
if
have
they're
to read
gonna
between the
list
lines.
this as a mental disorder.
Yep. Think of how many people can't get a gun.
You got it.
Yep. Bingo. But you really do need to read this on the Drudge Report. They have a picture of a woman like swooning over this cup of coffee. It is pretty funny, but it is serious. And again, with this administration, I always look at it as lawyers speak. I really do.
Well, that's all the gun bill
because
was.
you have
that's
to.
all any of these bills
Well, you
are.
have to read between the lines, and that really is scary. But that's it. So yeah, it's been nice knowing you. But I do have a gun permit, and I have yet.
Some of the top news of today
Mm-hmm.
is that vegetarians live longer than meat eaters.
Yeah, but they're so crabby.
All right, moving on to the next thing. What else is important?
You're in trouble with that one.
Yeah. PETA. People eating tasty animals.
Yes. Americans are voting with their feet. This was something I wanted to get to last week and really never talked about it.
And Christie is voting with New Jersey's money.
What is he?
He is freaking out over Cory Booker. And you like Booker even though he's a Democrat.
I do like Cory Booker. I think he had a lot to offer. He was good for Newark. He was a hardworking person. Now, I haven't been there in 7 years, so I don't know. You know, unfortunately, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I remember Gibson and I remember Sharp James, and they're horrible. But from what I could see, Cory Booker was trying to still live in the housing project he grew up in and was really trying hard to make Newark a better place to live. That said, you know, he was going to run for Senate anyhow. And what Christie needs to do is possibly appoint a Republican. First of all, you know, we've got huge votes coming up here now that Lautenberg has passed away. But this is what we're doing, trying to fill Lautenberg's shoes. First of all, Lautenberg shouldn't even been there. He's 89 years old. Get the hell out. I'm sorry.
It sounds like some kind of a syndrome.
What?
I'm suffering from Lautenberg syndrome.
Yeah, I know. And every time you drive up the New Jersey Turnpike and you see the Frank Lautenberg rail station, I want to puke. Because the guy retired and they pushed him back in. Hillary actually pushed him back in. He was old then. He should not have been in the Senate.
What difference does it make?
It makes a huge difference. But anyhow, so Frank Lautenberg, who did pass away earlier this week, does have a replacement named, you know, by Chris Christie. And there's a lot of speculation that Christie could name Cory Booker, or he's trying not to name Cory Booker. But no matter what, it's $24 million that they're trying to spend that the state doesn't have in this whole campaign, and it's an overall mess. But if he were to nominate and appoint a Republican, it might give somebody at least a little bit of a leg up in the actual election when it does come up later on. But New Jersey is such a blue state. It's really, kind of a a moot point, really, because Cory Booker's probably going to get in there in the general election anyhow. So we'll see.
Ladies and gentlemen, please donate money to Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
Please send money to him.
Rand Paul. Same thing.
I would give anything for Ted Cruz to be a Georgian.
Maybe it's me, but you know who really disappoints me is Marco Rubio. He really, really disappoints me because by alienating your base, and you're not going to let, these guys are not going to like you. News to Rubio. They're not going to like you. This whole Gang of 8 immigration bill, if that goes in, that's going to add another 30 million to the Obamacare ranks. They keep saying that's not going to happen. They're not going to get any kind of government assistance. That's bull.
They already are getting government assistance.
But the point is, once, this is again, because people don't know the law, once you get in there and you're considered a citizen, then you can't be refused. So it's increments. Everything works in increments.
They're not refusing people that are here illegally right now. Who was it? Your guy you worked with, Harrigan. Steve
Harrigan. He did a story this week on Fox about a woman who has 7 kids, admits she swam across the Rio Grande and
been here for 20 years.
Been here for 20 years, conceived one of the kids in a bus on the way here illegally. I mean, and the more they have, the more we have to pay. And you know what? When we're fat and happy,
she has health care provided for her. Mm-hmm. She has a government housing provided for her. She's given X number of dollars per month for food stamps, and they're doing it, what is it, the EBT card now, so that it doesn't look like food stamps?
Yeah,
it looks like you actually have credit.
It looks like a credit card, so you don't get embarrassed. You know what? Get them embarrassed. As far as I'm concerned, when you're fat and happy like this country was, 10 or even 5 years ago, when everybody had a little bit more money, nobody cared, that's one thing. But when it starts getting down to the point where your wallet, Mr. and Mrs. America, as Bush Sr. said, in the middle class, is starting to get squeezed out of existence, and you're working your butt off to pay your taxes and to buy health care that you have to buy and to pay car insurance, only to have someone else come and live equivalent of like 60 to 70 grand a year without having to work because of all the public assistance you can get. And you've got Marines in Afghanistan who are having to forego a hot meal because of supposedly sequestration, although some people are saying it's
even
part of the
winding
drawdown.
down. Yeah, but hey,
still,
pack it up the day before you leave.
Maybe the IRS doesn't need to have line dancing or square dancing or whatever it is lessons. That would have saved $50 million right there. That buys a hell of a lot of hot meals for our boys and our women in Afghanistan. I'm just so sick of how the military is being exploited here. It's just not funny. That's another thing, by the way, we're going to get into with General Vallely. That's just the tip of the iceberg. But yeah, if you didn't hear about that either, hot meals are being stopped at Camp Leatherneck in Afghanistan, one hot daily meal. And it's a key meal because this is when they all talk and they are able to have the camaraderie and get to know what's going on. It's not just a meal. It's kind of like a family. Everybody says a family stays together better if they could just eat dinner together and talk. My father, was in that train station in Maplewood, New Jersey at 5:17 on that Erie-Lackawanna train every damn afternoon. Either he drove himself home or he walked home or he drove down and parked the car and drove it back. But the point is he was home by 6 o'clock every night having his triple martini or Manhattan's too.
Unwinding. Hey, I want to go back to this.
But you know what? That really, I'm sorry. There's nothing wrong with the leave it to beaver syndrome.
Well, according to some of your friends on Facebook, there is. But having said that, I want to go back to the immigration thing. Mm-hmm. Guys, do a little research on something. I haven't been able to dig into it real deep, but look for something called navigators. Mm-hmm. Now, navigators are organizations that are promoting, or people that are with organizations that are promoting giving illegals free stuff. Mm-hmm. And they're going out and finding them, okay? And they're saying, here, welcome to the United States, basically. Let me show you how you can take advantage of the system and have everything you need paid for.
I know. In a million different languages.
Navigators.
Yep.
Navigators.
Anyhow, the Americans voting with their feet basically is a story that has come out that pretty much says people are avoiding high state taxes and leaving those states. People are avoiding areas like Detroit, obviously with crime and that kind of thing, and they're voting with their feet. They're going down to states like Florida or Texas. Unfortunately, they're still bringing their extremely liberal views with them, and they're screwing up those states as well. Please do me a favor. Stay out of Georgia. Stay out of Georgia. Stay out of the Atlanta area. It's not going to happen, I know.
We got to go to a break.
But we do?
So that we
Okay.
can get ready to talk to the general.
It's just so much I haven't touched on yet.
We'll
much to say, so little time.
We'll be able to do that.
Okay, 917-675-3200 is our phone number. 917-675-3200. Again, General Paul Vallely will be with us this next half hour. And boy, do we have some great stuff that you are not going to hear from the mainstream media coming up in that interview. Stay tuned right here on Cowboy Logic Radio.
Check us out on the web at cowboylogic.us.
You're listening to Cowboy Logic Radio.
Hey everybody, this is Stan Levy, also known as the Black Man Thinking out here in California. When I'm not dealing with the friends of Governor Moonbeam out here, I tune into Cowboy Logic. Hope you do too.
Read me the message.
New message from Sebastian. Great news. We got the go-ahead. Can you meet at 10?
Reply, definitely. I'll see you there. Play my running mix.
What's the traffic like around here?
Here's the traffic.
Take your iPhone 5 to the next level with the all-new, politically incorrect Janet and Hillary personal assistant app.
Janet,
What?
where's the closest gun shop?
Why do you want to go to a gun shop?
Because I can. This is still a free country, isn't it?
Before I tell you, you'll need to agree to submit to a complete background check. Get fingerprinted. Present 18 forms of identification, including but not limited to a current utility bill, a social security card, a driver's license, and a library card that has not yet expired.
But I already did all that. Well, sort of.
We also need to know how your health is. Did you gain more than 15 pounds in the last year?
What? No. Look, all I want to do is buy some ammo.
I'm sorry. The Department of Homeland Security has already purchased all available ammunition in 9mm, 40 caliber, and 45 caliber hollow point rounds.
What? Hollow points? Why hollow points? They're a lot more expensive. We're already $16 trillion in debt and counting.
We're going to use hollow points for target practice, unlike the military and law enforcement. As a matter of fact, we've purchased enough ammunition to have 5 rounds for every man, woman, and child in the United States.
Wow. Isn't that overkill? Ooh, sorry. Bad choice of words there. You know what? Forget this Janet Napolitano personal assistant app. I'm going to move on to Hillary Clinton. You know, I am getting a little hungry here. Hillary, where's the nearest Chinese restaurant?
What difference at this point does it make?
How about Chick-fil-A?
What difference at this point does it make?
I love Chick-fil-A. It's a family-owned, all-American restaurant. Okay. You want to play rough? Do you think Eric Holder perjured himself in front of Congress?
What difference at this point does it make?
Do you think the DOJ targeted media outlets like Fox and the Associated Press?
What difference at this point does it make?
Did the IRS target conservative groups?
What difference at this point does it make?
Is Obamacare a train wreck?
What difference at this point does it make?
Did Bill have an affair with Monica Lewinsky?
What difference at this point does it make?
What is the meaning of is?
What difference at this point does it make?
Is G.I. Joe anatomically correct?
What difference at this point does it make?
Oy.
What difference at this point does it make?
Download the Janet Napolitano and Hillary Clinton personal assistant app today. Although side effects may include, but are not limited to, headache, nausea, vomiting, dizziness, dysentery, cardiac arrhythmia, mild heart explosions, varicose veins, darkened stool, darkened soul, mild discomfort, severe discomfort, lieutenant discomfort, major discomfort, general discomfort, hemorrhoids, sugar high, spontaneous dental hydroplosion, more vomiting, mild rash, an erection not lasting more than 45 seconds, gas with an oily discharge, increased bowel movements, the sudden urge to spend more than you earn, sweaty palms, the sudden urge to wear mandals, more vomiting, infection, fear of the Constitution and or the Bill of Rights, and a complete lack of guilt when taking money or property that belongs to one person and giving it to someone else.
Okay, maybe not.
Okay, so we know you don't necessarily want to talk to Don Neuen, but we know you want to talk to Donna Fiducia, and you can. Call 917-675-3200, and you'll get to talk to Donna Fiducia, and Don Neuen will sit there and wait patiently.
This is Aaron Gaynor from the band 12 Stones, and you're listening to Cowboy Logic Radio, where conservatives and libertarians go to suckle at the breast of the Constitution.
You're listening to Cowboy Logic Radio.
Government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem. Government is the problem. Government is the problem. Government is the problem.
You're listening to Cowboy Logic Radio.
I first learned about it from the same news reports that I think most people learned about this. I think it was on Friday.
What day did you learn?
The same day the president did.
From news reports?
Correct.
So no one in this building told you?
That's correct.
Okay.
Who was responsible? I don't have that name, sir. I don't remember, to be honest with you. I'm not sure what you're asking, sir.
Don't remember again.
I'm not there to go ask a set of questions of people, what happened when, who, and how.
But that's the first we've heard of it.
Why they didn't, I don't know.
No one in the White House was aware.
This happened on my watch. I do not accept responsibilities for all the actions.
But I did not know any of the details at that time.
I wouldn't say nobody's saying that, but or at least suggesting it.
With all due respect, you were there, though.
No, I was there.
I've decided to follow my counsel's advice and not testify or answer any of the questions today.
What day did the conversation take place?
I'd have to look back at my notes on that, sir.
You've got notes on that?
I'd have to try to find them.
Do you have notes or don't you have notes?
I don't know.
I first learned about it from the same news report.
I have not done anything wrong.
What I continue to believe is that ultimately the buck stops with me. I'm going to be accountable.
You know, do me a favor. Could you say senator instead of ma'am?
I love these members that get up and say, read the bill.
What difference at this point does it make?
The whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
We know that the free market is nonsense.
This liberal will be all about socializing, will be about basically taking over and the government running all of your companies.
The time has come for unfiltered, politically incorrect common sense. Welcome to the wild world of Cowboy Logic.
Welcome back to Cowboy Logic Radio. You know, I can hear those sound bites a million times, and every time I do, blood shoots out of my eyeballs. I get so mad. I mean, it's just pathetic to think that our lawmakers in Washington are blaming now, I didn't hear anything till I heard it in the news media. Just like, I didn't know anything about Benghazi because, it was due to a video. Well, there's one person we know that can tell us otherwise, that Benghazi had nothing to do with the video. And that is our current guest that we have on the line now, Major General, U.S. Army retired, Paul Vallely. Hello, sir, and good evening to you from way out there in flyover country.
Well, I'm from cowboy country out here, Donna and Dawn, and I'm happy to be with you tonight to have a very good show and trying to enlighten the world here of what we know and what we should know.
Let me do the intro view, which may take most of this half hour, okay? Paul E. Vallely, Major General, U.S. Army, retired. Born in Pennsylvania, retired in 1991 from the U.S. Army as Deputy Commanding General, U.S. Army Pacific in Honolulu, Hawaii. That means you were in charge of the entire Pacific Fleet, is that correct?
Well, no, that was the admiral who I worked
okay.
for. I actually was a Special Operations Forces guy. I was a major general, so I worked for a four-star admiral.
Wow, you do the stuff we don't even want to know about. Just keep doing it, though.
I want to try to put the magnitude of this area into perspective. And correct me if I'm wrong, General, because I think I read someplace that this was in excess of 60 million square miles.
Largest in the world.
Wow, that's really impressive.
Largest command of any country in the world is the Pacific Command, going all the way to the west coast of, I should say if I go that way, I've got to go east coast of Africa all the way across to the west coast of the United States.
Can I ask you something seriously? In your experience of 32 years in the Army, have you ever seen Guam tip over?
Well, I've been to Guam many times, and
I couldn't
can
resist.
only tell you it was a great experience. The interesting about Guam is the Japanese have built a multitude of hotels and retirement centers in Guam for the Japanese people.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
Overcrowding in Japan. So if you ever go to Guam, you'll see a lot of developments in that, but it's a plethora of elderly Japanese who have retired there.
So it's very possible that it could tip over due to overpopulation. It's just so ridiculous. Anyhow, 32 years of a distinguished career in the Army, a graduate of West Point. You served in many overseas theaters, as you say, in this little bio that you sent us, Europe, the Pacific Rim. and 2 combat tours in Vietnam, U.S. security assistance missions on civilian military relations to Europe, Japan, Korea, Thailand, Indonesia, just too many to even mention. And as well as you are now the chairman of Stand Up America and the co-trustee of the Scott Vallely Soldiers Memorial Fund. There just can't be enough hours in the day for you, but we do salute you, sir. And we will get to all that stuff. But I want to start with the web of the Middle East and what you know about that. What light can you shed on what is happening in the Middle East as far as the United States is concerned?
Well, I'll try to paint the picture as best I can. I've been over in Turkey and the Syrian border twice in the last 8 months, meeting with the Turks as well as many of the commanders, 8 generals and 60 commanders of the Free Syrian Army who have parted ways with the Assad regime there. So when we look at that, Donna, we see a chessboard being played out there. And if you can picture a chessboard in your mind, you have to identify the players in the Middle East. And when you do that, then it becomes very apparent as to what moves are being made by all, whether it's Turkey, Iran, Russia, Hezbollah, the Muslim Brotherhood. It all comes together over there. But you have to get on the ground. And I'm surprised when John McCain went over that he didn't invite me to go with him, because I knew the ground better than anybody over there, having been liaisoned with not only the Turks but the Syrians. So anyhow, we could discuss all of this in more detail if you'd like.
Well,
absolutely.
Do you agree with what John McCain did? Because as a lay person, I was kind of annoyed at that, because we're criticized so much in the world right now for basically trying to pick and choose leaders. Are we supposed to say that Syria needs to change leaders? Are we supposed to just let them duke it out among themselves? Because that's really what's happened in Afghanistan. We're hated there for trying to liberate the country.
Well, I met with a young Free Syrian Army officer last July, and he had just come out of combat in Aleppo. And he told me, he said, listen, we don't know anything about democracy. Democracy is not what's key over here. It's freedom. Mm-hmm. And we now understand what freedom should be, and that's what we want: freedom to travel, freedom to educate, freedom to do the things we need to do in a society, freedom to do businesses. We don't need Sharia law. We don't need radical Islam, even though they are all Muslims.
But if you have a generation after generation that's grown up in a society where they really are not free, it's very easy, once that vacuum is created, to bring in something like what happened in Egypt. How do you stop that? Where the Muslim Brotherhood is now in there, and everybody said, oh, they're just secular, there's no problem there. And we're finding out later on that absolutely is not the case. Christians are being crucified. There's no freedom to be anything but Muslim. And there's really very little rights for women or anything really in Egypt, and that was not the case before.
Well, do not think that the younger generations over there are not aware of this. Mm-hmm. That's why we saw in Egypt, we're seeing in Syria, we're seeing in Turkey today, the 20 and 30-year-olds finally standing up, and we're going to see this finally happen in America too, that we're not going to tolerate tyrannical regimes, we're not going to tolerate Sharia law, that kind of imposition on the freedoms of a society. And Turkey is the best example right now. And I saw that last year when I was there, of the government control over the people. When I talked to some of the Turks, they said, we can't believe we can't even have 6 people go to a dinner without somebody watching us thinking there's a conspiracy. And so Erdogan over there, the president of Turkey, has started overreach. We see the same thing in America. Finally, the 20 and 30-year-olds are going to wake up in America and say, hey, we don't want this. some of us older people realize the overreach of the federal government right now. But our younger generations are just learning this, and they're going to learn it very quickly.
Now, this
so
guy...
there's a lot of parallels with the United States and with the Middle East right now, and even Europe to a great degree.
Hey, General, would you go back? You were talking earlier about the chessboard and the key players, and then you basically said if we want to go into this more, we can. First of all, I want to set the groundwork here. We can go into anything you want to, sir. We can go into it as long as you want. I won't even go into work tomorrow. I'll sit right here and listen to you. You're welcome to do that. Too. I'm sitting here getting chills. Seriously. And this is not a Chris Matthew thing up my leg. This is, I am in his hold esteem for you, sir, and I am listening so attentively. Tell us about these chess pieces.
Well, I've written probably 10 articles in the last 2 or 3 years on the Middle East chessboard to try to explain it even to our government officials and to the Pentagon, to the generals and admirals, that you have to look at the Middle East as a chessboard. And who are the players? And right now, if you look at that Middle East chessboard, the players are Turkey, they're Russia, Iran, Hezbollah, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and with a very, very deep reluctance and participation of the United States. And people will say, well, what's Syria mean to us, for example, on the chessboard? Well, if you take Russia, who's an avowed enemy of the United States, no matter what they say, Putin plays things very cleverly, much more cleverly than the United States leadership does. Matter of fact, I've told the stories of if I was going to put somebody in charge of our State Department, it'd probably be Russia, because they deal from strength and they know what they do. But the chessboard players, we don't seem to have the leadership in Washington, in the State Department, in the CIA, in the Pentagon, and in the White House that understands the players on the chessboard. And if you don't play on the chessboard, then, and that's what we're doing as the United States, we're not playing in any, we're AWOL. We're absent without leave over there. Well, they say, why should we get in another war in Syria? Well, you don't have to. But you have to pick certain forces that we should have supported, like in Iran, the Green Revolution. There are certain proxies that you support. And if you understand the Middle East, it's all about proxies. Iran's proxies are Assad in Syria, they're the Hezbollah in Lebanon, and so all the Middle East works through proxies. And we've not learned that about the Middle East. And of course, I've been on air, Donna knows this, for 10 years. I was with Fox News for 8 years, saying don't put bases into the Middle East. Use the lily pad strategy. If there's a threat to the United States, attack them from without, destroy the target, come back home. And the guidance that I got from this was a Lebanese colonel, Christian colonel, a very good friend of mine, and he's still my assistant and works with me closely on the Middle East, said, make sure you tell the generals and admirals, don't put bases in the Middle East. The Middle East is nothing but a giant sponge. It will suck all the human resources and financial resources that you put into it. And we look at Iraq today, zero return for the American people. We look at Afghanistan, a zero return for the American people, with thousands wounded, thousands dead for no return to the American people. So when you go back, even in the Bush administration, we try to tell them, don't put conventional forces in there. Hit them from outside like we did in the fall of 2001. 2001, in 34 days, we took down the Taliban and Al-Qaeda with 100 special ops, CIA, paramilitary, and air support. We absolutely obliterated them. They all fled. They went to Pakistan. And so we developed this whole strategy of nation building, counterinsurgency, which is a myth. It's a failure. So, when you go back to the chessboard again, then you try to say, okay, here we are involved in the Middle East, or we're not involved. Who are the major players? Well, we know Iran has said, Israel, the United States, we are the Satans of the world. we need to be destroyed. So we are an avowed enemy of Iran. Russia supports Iran on the chessboard. Russia supports Assad on the chessboard. Now you've got Turkey, who is playing the hegemonic power play with Iran and Russia. And believe me, Turkey is giving a lot of support over there, not only on the refugees, but humanitarian aid, food, as well as medical assistance to the Syrian opposition. And now you have Hezbollah has entered the picture in the last 30 days, based on a direction from Tehran that they go into Syria. And what do we have happening in Syria in the last 10 days? More body bags going back from Syria back to Lebanon of the Free Syrian Army, who I support, basically saying, okay, Hezbollah, you want to go fight this war, come fight it, but you're going to go back in body bags. So you've got to get on the ground, and it's just like John McCain went over. He never called me or my organization to say, who should I visit, who should I talk to? And so McCain goes over there and basically visits with the wrong people. But at least he did it. But other than that, we've got now the Brits and even the French are standing up and supporting some of the positions I've taken in supporting the Free Syrian Army. So it's very complicated, the chessboard, but it would take probably 4 or 5 hours to go over all the intricacies of it. But hopefully I can lay it out simplistically for the audience here.
Well, I had heard that Egrajan, which I believe is a very good friend of Barack Obama's, he's very close to the Turkish government. And from what I heard, one of the very first phone calls Obama made once he became president was to the Turkish government. And he's backing that. And I believe Turkey, and tell me if I'm wrong, pretty much fancies themselves as the big wig in that whole area.
Well, they are. They're very well organized. The economic development in Turkey is unbelievable when you go over there and see what they're doing. It's a wonderful country, but they're adversaries of Iran. So Iran's trying to be the hegemonic power. So that's part of that whole chessboard play. But Donna and we have nobody in government can explain the chessboard.
Well, I don't really know if they really understand it. Because to me, there's a huge disconnect. Again, as a layman, I see no connection at all between people like yourself that really know what the heck is going on because you've been there, you've done that, and the politicians in D.C. that are just too worried about their collective backsides and just want to make it look like they're doing the right thing, even though they're not. I mean, we're in more areas now across the Middle East than we were under Bush, from what I've seen. We're sending troops everywhere.
Well, we have probably the most inept, corrupt, inefficient government that we've ever had in the entire history of the United States. Now, that goes through a lot of different things. It goes back to the Revolutionary War. It goes through the Civil War, World War I, World War II, Korea, we have the most corrupt government we've ever had in our history. And you can just add it up across the board. Joel McInerney, my good friend, who's a Fox military analyst, probably explains it as well as anybody. He said, never in our history have we seen the U.S. government in such broad array across all the organizations of the executive branch, CIA, NSA, the Defense Department, the State Department, all of these organizations totally corrupt, deception beyond belief. And of course, you know, I've told you I'm working on the Benghazi project as well as Extortion 17, which was the CH-47 helicopter that went down with SEAL Team 6 in August of 2011. That was the team that took out bin Laden. So we track back to all of these things. We're thinking also if we could ever do a documentary, a movie, on what we would call bridges to Benghazi. All those pillars of the bridge goes back to Pat Tillman, to take down bin Laden, to Fast and Furious, to Benghazi. all adds up to a government that is totally corruptive, deceptive, and dishonest to the American people.
And in my opinion, are getting a pass because of the mainstream media, but that's another story. I want to get to the SEAL Team 6, but we were talking about Turkey. Just real quick, to me, that ties in with Benghazi again. It goes back to guns pretty much, doesn't it?
Right, it does, yeah. We pretty much feel that the Benghazi situation erupted because of basically a flow of a lot of the weapon systems that Gaddafi had inventoried over the years that now are being manufactured into a flow of arms into Turkey, into the Syrian opposition, which would have been the Muslim Brotherhood, Al-Qaeda types, not the Free Syrian Army. Don had asked earlier about whether there was a kidnap of Ambassador Stevens as a result of trying to release the
blind sheikh.
The blind sheikh.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't think that happened, Don, because if they wanted to kidnap, they could have, but they did not. They basically took advantage of Ambassador Stevens, ended up in his death. If they wanted to keep him as a pawn, they would have. So I don't think that holds much water vis-a-vis the Benghazi situation of basically moving arms out of Libya up to Turkey into Syria.
And that, of course, never has really been brought up yet too much, although things are slowly starting to leak out. It's essentially a fast and furious in the Middle East, which is really scary.
Yes.
See, the thing that gets me, I mean, remember just before the election when President Obama leaned over to one of the Russian politicians and said, I just got to get reelected, tell, Vlad or whoever that, once I get reelected, everything's going to be okay. It almost seems like, and if you've seen the movie 2016, how Dinesh D'Souza claims that President Obama is an anti-colonialist, and he does a pretty darn good job of presenting the facts for that. Everything fits, in my opinion, into what has been happening. I mean, to me, this president, as so many critics have said, is doing exactly what somebody who hates this country would be doing.
Absolutely.
It blows my mind.
Yeah, no, it's their agenda. And that's why we've got to turn it around. You mentioned 2016. The producer of 2016 is my neighbor here. He's a mile from me right now, my good friend Jerry Mullen. He was the producer of 2016 with Dinesh. They're also coming out with a new documentary this summer called The America. And it was, if Columbus hadn't discovered America, what would America be like today?
Wow. That's interesting.
It's parallel to 2016, so you'll look forward to that.
Mm-hmm,
and also, I can tell you that Jerry Mullen, he was the Oscar-winning producer of Schindler's List.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so he and I are talking about now doing a movie within the next year on Benghazi. So I haven't told anybody that except you guys.
Uh-oh. We have an exclusive. That's
hey,
awesome.
General, when you're talking to these academia in Washington, and earlier you said they just don't know how to play chess. They just don't have a clue.
Mm-hmm.
When you're talking to them, are you getting a deer in the headlights look? Are you getting an arrogance? What kind of response are you getting out of some of these people?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. It's the arrogance that they think they know what they're doing, but they never get out of the beltway. They don't get on the ground like I do and my operations people do. When you don't do that, you don't understand what's going on.
But that happened as far back as Vietnam, too, or even before. I mean, we really have not been able to fight a war without our hands tied behind our backs anymore.
Well, that's right. And, Don, you remember, even on Fox in the early days when you and I did some shows together, I can completely challenge some of the tactics and strategies in the Middle East at that time. And it proved out that Ollie North and I were right about a lot of things. that were happening in Iraq and then Afghanistan. But the problem is we've developed admirals and generals, Donna, that are absolutely political correct, looking for their next job, not standing up, because the oath, you see, is the Constitution, not to the president.
Well, you never know that if you see how they act.
Exactly.
But I mean,
so we got back to Petraeus, and we go back to all these generals that have been in and out in the last 10 to 12 years. And I'm very disgusted with the fact that they can't stand up and be counted anymore.
Well, you know, under Bush, he was General Betray Us. But as soon as Obama got in there, oh, he's okay, we'll keep him. And then, you know, as soon as they wanted him ousted, all of a sudden he had, you know, an affair. And that seems to be the modus operandi of this administration. You know, smear. It's a Chicago-style politics, really.
No doubt about it.
You know, you smear anybody you disagree with and run them out of town on a rail. The thing is, though, you know, so many countries have fallen. I mean, look at what happened to Gaddafi. You know, Somalia's got more troops in there, supposedly. I don't know whether they're called troops or advisors. The same with Libya. Do we have advisors there anymore? I don't know. Nobody talks about it. But we're on so many more fronts. We're spread out all over the place, and we have absolutely no plan. I mean, I don't know anything about the military, and I can see that. So I can imagine how frustrated you must be.
Well, it's very frustrating, and Joe McInerney and I have written several articles on what we call the forward strategy, dealing with today and tomorrow. There's nobody, even in the Pentagon, though they put out these papers and these different directives, but we know that they don't have a really focused forward strategy of protecting America, whether it's our borders, whether it's the cells that are being developed through the mosque in America, all of this. We don't have a handle on things in Washington, and that's what the American people have to really realize. So what do we do about it? Either there's going to be a revolution in America to change the way things are done, or the politicians have got to be removed. For the most part, the executive branch has got to be a branch that will take over and lead America. Our court systems, they're just absolutely in chaos.
It's the education
we
system.
We have Hassan,
really
for example, down there, right, Donna, and Fort Hood hasn't even been tried yet, and he killed 13 of our troops.
No, he allegedly killed 13, yelling Allah Akbar, and you know. Yeah. But that's not a terrorist act. That's a workplace violence.
I mean, it's just crazy what's going on in this country.
It is upside down. It's totally upside down.
I meet a lot of people like you do. They're very sophisticated. They've been well educated. I played with a group of older guys last week in golf, and I was talking about these things, and they're absolutely clueless.
Mm-hmm. They don't hear about it because the mainstream media is not doing its job, and that's what frustrated me so much.
Job either, Donna.
No.
They don't do their job to study what's going on. They don't listen. They live in their own bubbles.
Mm-hmm.
So
and with
it's their
the internet,
fault as well.
But with the internet as it is, there's no excuse. You know, but they all know who, you know, what Kim Kardashian is doing now or some other stupid nonsense, and that's going to, you know, get you killed. Sorry. You mentioned briefly about the Muslim infiltration, I want to call it. I don't know if you want to call it that, but that's what I call it.
No, it is an infiltration. It's a planned Sharia global caliphate, if you understand that. That's what it is.
I do understand it. And that brings us now to SEAL Team 6. Explain who the SEAL Team 6 guys were and what's happened to them with this Chinook helicopter crash back in 2011.
Well, I would ask all of your listeners to go on YouTube, type in Extortion 17, and look at all the 8 to 10 different videos on there, and they'll understand what it's about. But we had a situation 3 months after bin Laden was taken down, where we had a CH Chinook back from the 50s put into operation to hold and to carry a number of SEAL Team 6 members, plus 7 Afghans, and a crew in to relieve a Ranger operation that had been going on, a firefight for about 3.5 hours in a province in Afghanistan. And so when Biden came out and said that, you know, it was SEAL Team 6 that got bin Laden, we've tracked back and found out that the Taliban had been tracking some of the SEAL Team 6 members in Afghanistan based out of Bagram Air Base. And so from all the interrogation, we have 1,200 documents, by the way, that validate that this was a setup, it was an ambush to draw in SEAL Team 6 into an operation they should not have been involved in, and a helicopter they should not have been riding in. Because the special operations have a special helicopter called the MH-47, which is tailored just to specific special operations. They had an Air National Guard helicopter just for transportation. I've flown in those in Iraq. They're fine, but they're just for transporting. They're not for combat. So SEAL Team 6 went in on this helicopter and basically got blown out of the sky. Everybody was killed on board, 30-plus of our finest killed on board. And we know it was a set-up operation. So,
and what happened afterward is an even bigger slap in the face.
Yes.
This poor mother, I can't imagine. I did see that video you were talking about, and again, go on YouTube and look for Extortion 17. That mother the mother of one of those SEAL Team 6 members who said her son was cremated. He didn't want to be cremated. They were telling her that...
Karen Vaughn.
Yep, they were telling her that... the remains really were just burned beyond recognition. She said that was not the case. They could have easily have identified the remains. And then they had an imam come and supposedly do prayers over these coffins in Afghanistan. And he basically lambasted SEAL Team 6. He wasn't 6. He wasn't praying over them by any stretch of the imagination. It's just unbelievable to me this can happen in America.
Well, that's why we tried to expose it 3 weeks ago in Washington at the National Press Club. And people can see for their own. Go on YouTube and type in Extortion 17 and you'll see it. And you'll be so irate the fact that the American government, military command authorities in Afghanistan would have permitted an imam to come in and pray over our bodies, what we call a ramp ceremony. That's before they're put on the planes and brought back to Dover, that he prayed over them, basically put them in a category of those individuals that should go to hell versus those of the radical Islamists that will go to heaven. And
5 years ago, most people, even after 9/11, most people never knew what Sharia law was. I beg anybody listening to go bone up on Sharia law and find out what it is. You think you're for gay rights, you think you're for women's rights, and you want the Muslims to have any kind of say in how this country operates, you are sadly mistaken. But I get off my soapbox right now. And then what happened, Don, what are you saying? He's making faces at me here.
Well, I'm speaking Italian with Donna here. I'm using my hands to talk.
But you're not
General.
Italian. That's my job.
Hey, General, back up just a little bit with regard to the SEAL Team 6 situation that took place. Where did this cover-up, where's the cover-up, and where was the setup? Who set them up? Because from what I saw, this is clearly a setup along with a cover-up.
Exactly. No, you hit it on the nose, and that's what we're trying to find out with the further investigation into what military commander authorized that mission, because it was not a SEAL Team 6 operation. We've had feedback from the Rangers who were in a 3.5-hour firefight there saying we really didn't need anybody to come in. We were taking care of things. So we know that was a setup. So we're trying to find out the commanders in Afghanistan who authorized that mission, why they authorized it, and then why did they cover it up. So this is part of our ongoing inspection, interrogation, trying to find out for the families that lost all of those on board that aircraft that night.
What is the total count as of today of SEAL Team 6 members that have been killed?
Oh my goodness!
Since since supposedly bin Laden had been taken out?
We've probably got in excess of, I'm not sure what the number is, I did have it, but it's beyond the extortion 17. It's probably up into 50 or 60.
It just seems unlikely. That just doesn't normally happen. And you know what? I want to know, and everybody's finally saying, who gave the order to stand down in Benghazi? Quite the opposite of what happened in this particular instance. It just seems like somebody is undermining the U.S. military, not to mention the fact that this administration is gutting it monetarily, now not even giving the troops in Afghanistan another hot meal. I mean, this is just unbelievable. Just unbelievable to me. Is that normal, by the way, if they're pulling out of Afghanistan, supposedly, to not have as many hot meals and to move on to the MREs when you still, supposedly have to eat every day?
Well, the whole thing over there, what are we there for anymore?
Yeah, it's a good
There's
question.
no victory. We can't achieve victory. We get our young soldiers blown up, loss of limbs, for nothing, without a strategy other than to say that we're going to continue to pour millions and millions of dollars in there, with much of it, like Iraq, where we have $68 billion unaccounted for that we spent of American taxpayers' money in Iraq, with zero return to the American people.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Russians found the same thing out, and that's what I said when we went into Afghanistan. I'm thinking, can't we learn from history here? And another thing that nobody talks about is you talk about following the money trail there, the gold bullion that Gaddafi had, and no one knows where that all went. Billions and billions of gold bullion that was in Libya, and who knows where that went after Gaddafi fell. There's a lot of money in that area.
Don, I think the American government now has attempted to play games around the world with no strategy. And so that's why we continue to be in retreat. We continue to be in denial. And as I told an audience in a speech last month, tell me the last diplomatic victory we had in America. Not military. What's the last diplomatic victory we've had?
That's a good question. I couldn't even begin to answer
Ronald
that
Reagan.
One. Well,
you got it.
Tear down this
when the wall went down.
Yep.
The last diplomatic victory. And so we've had all these secretaries of states, Hillary Clinton, flying all over the world, John Kerry now, accomplishing nothing. And when you look back at Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State, what did she accomplish? Nothing. You cannot identify one positive thing that she accomplished in the State Department. But nobody holds them accountable.
No. And there's a huge double standard between the left and the right. And you know what? I'll be the first to admit that Bush was no great shakes getting us into this war. But you know what? There were 12 UN resolutions. There were multiple votes by Congress. We had every reason to believe there were WMDs. And quite frankly, ask 70,000 Kurds if there were WMDs.
Well, sure,
you
there
can't
were
because they're
chemical
gone.
Biological,
Yeah.
and they were moved to Syria. We knew that.
Yeah, and nobody, wants to give a pass.
Advice. He had the wrong strategy. He needed to use the lily pad strategy. Attack them from outside, bring them back home, and don't put bases in the Middle East. And then he got talked into this nation-building crap and counterinsurgency mythology that's never worked. And then Petraeus supported it. And I know David Petraeus very well, and he's a great soldier up until Major General, and then after that he went political.
Well, that's
General
think the
McChrystal, a great disgrace. General Dempsey now, I can't think of a bigger village idiot than the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dempsey. I mean, it's just ludicrous.
What do you really think?
Yeah, what am I really thinking?
Hey, one thing that's undeniable is that on Cowboy Logic,
you're not going to hear anything other than this at Cowboy Logic.
This kind of speech is welcome.
Let's talk about the infiltration of the Muslim Brotherhood into this White House. I mean, Don has a stepsister who lived 15 miles from the pyramids. Brilliant woman, very well educated, who argued with us. Oh, right when all this Arab Spring was happening. Oh, they're a secular organization. They're fine. It's no big deal. Yeah, and that's why she's living in Texas now.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. When you go back, Donna, and you can look. The Bush administration started this with the Muslim outreach program.
Mm-hmm.
This was started under Bush, trying to reach out to them. And the first two names that I won't mention tonight went into the Defense Department under Gordon England, who was Deputy Secretary of Defense under Rumsfeld. So, Bush has got a lot to, I would say, stand up to as far as the bad advice that he got by encouraging and promoting this Muslim outreach program.
But why do you think he did it?
Naivety, not understanding the goals of the Muslim Brotherhood and the global caliphate, not understanding Islam. I went back to Washington. I don't know how many shows I've done on this, trying to tell them about the global caliphate. They have no clue what the global caliphate is all about.
That's because they don't study history.
The domination of Islam.
Yeah. And it's not just the Muslim Brotherhood is not a secular organization, but there are
no, they're not at all.
No, there are people though in the highest parts of this government. We're talking Homeland Security, envoys to Homeland Security, Organization of the Islamic Conference. We have an Obama advisor who was the founder of the Muslim Public Affairs Council and its current executive director. We have an Obama Sharia czar and a person named Imam Mohammed Majid, and he's from the Islamic Society of North America, and Ibu Patel, who is the Advisory Council on Faith-Based Neighborhood Partnerships. And this is all people who have access to the White House. You also have Islamist media mavens sabotaging, apparently, the war on terror. This I pulled off the internet earlier. A person named Amina Ismail. She's a former Egyptian reporter, somehow got credentialed by the Secret Service to cover the White House as a special correspondent, just ushered in by Jay Carney, who, saw her. She goes around with her head covered in Islamic scarf and recognized by Jay Carney saying, hey, come on in. And she's formerly worked in Cairo for a pro-Muslim Brotherhood organization called Al-Masri Al-Yurm, where she wrote anti-American propaganda. And these people have access to the White House. Did 9/11 ever occur? Maybe it's me.
It's unbelievable. And you have the head of the CIA who's a Muslim.
Oh, that's good. That one I didn't
Brennan.
know. Oh, really?
Yes.
I didn't know he was Muslim.
Check it out.
Oh, okay. Name
And
like
Obama.
Brennan? Who would have thought that?
Oh, yeah, with an Irish name, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got Obama is basically a Muslim. So what are you going to do?
Well, see, and if you grow up a Muslim, as Obama admits in Indonesia.
Obama's not a Christian. He's more of a Muslim than he is a Christian.
Well, his actions speak that way, that's for sure.
There you go.
And nobody's going to call him. I judge people by their actions. I don't judge them by what they say. I judge them by what they do
And
what
nobody,
happens.
Donna, in Congress will challenge him because they're afraid of a black outlash in America.
Well, it's getting to the point where we're not going to have
That's the reason they
America.
give in Washington for not challenging his eligibility, his background, or anything because they're afraid of a black outlash. Now, isn't that incredible?
Well, I know an awful lot of blacks, quite frankly, who aren't thrilled with Obama. But these are hardworking people just like anybody else who are paying their taxes and trying to get the best life for their kids.
Yeah, but
This
the
is not a black
politicians
and a white
are
situation.
scared to death.
Exactly. Because they're
Politicians are
racist
scared to death.
otherwise.
They won't take it on.
Yep.
Even about his eligibility.
I got to tell you, General, I'm 52 years old, and I, up until 2009, was never, ever, ever called a racist. And I'm not one.
And what's happened
since 2009,
Mm-hmm.
I've been labeled a racist by Jimmy Carter, by countless times by Obama supporters. And the thing is, here's who's calling me a racist. White liberals.
From New York.
Exactly.
I haven't had a black person call me a racist yet.
No.
It's all the white liberals.
Well, it's the politically correct. It's the Ivy League crowd. Everything looks good on paper to them, and they don't know what it's like to have to balance a checkbook, or balance a business checkbook. Really, these are people who work in academia, and even the government was saying, I forget what agency it was this week. Oh, why are people getting laid off because we're forcing them to have Obamacare? Well, hello. These businesses have to lay people off because they can't afford it. But if you work for the government, you don't have to balance a checkbook.
Hey, General, before we get into Benghazi, because I would really appreciate it if you'd get knee deep in that. But before we get into that, would you tell everybody about Stand Up America US?
Well, we formed this 7 years ago. Jerry Mullen and I did, the producer of Obama 2016, and also Schindler's List and Jurassic Park. And so Jerry and I formed Stand Up America. We're one of the longest organizations now, and we are a 501.
Were you targeted by
but that happened before.
The IRS?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so what we're basically is a multimedia organization. You can go to standupamericaus.org, and you can see all the things that we do, what we're involved in. We have 12 intelligence analysts that work in our organization, continually examining what's going on our borders, as well as the Middle East, for example. We do a lot of TV, radio, other events, trying to stand up for the Constitution and America as we've known it and have realized from our historical roots what a great country this is, and it's changing. And if it's changing to the evil and bad side, then we want people to know about it. So from that standpoint, we know media is important today, radio, television, the internet, and that we have to be out there preaching constantly what we believe in and rational, factual information. Not partisan, not Republican, not Democrat, but based on the facts.
Have you been audited lately?
No.
I couldn't resist. I'm sorry.
Hey, what can people do to help support your organization?
Well, the biggest thing they can do is to go on standupamericaus.org, join as a member, make a donation, help out the different projects we have. Every project is funded separately, like the Extortion 17 project, the Benghazi project, the chessboard in the Middle East, all of these projects that we have. When I put a team together to send them into Turkey and the Syrian border, you're talking $25,000 when you talk airfares, hotel, lodging, and taking care of the people over there. But we actually get on the ground versus all of these think tank operations in Washington, D.C. that just stay there. We actually take a team, we put them on the ground, we investigate. I got an interesting call from Laura Logan last week. They want to do a 60-minute story on my Syrian experiences.
Wow, that's great. You're sitting here saying, it's 25, 30,000 or whatever to go into these countries and to travel. And then you think, you see these line dancing IRS agents spending $50 million or $60 million. That's money.
That's a
well
lot of
spent.
on the ground.
Yeah, I mean it's peanuts. But what we do are actually on the ground things. We actually make things happen.
Productive, yeah.
We report they're productive, yeah. So that's how people, Don, can help us the best, is come in and join us, make a contribution, and we'll take it from there.
I also, before it gets too late, want to talk about the memorial fund you have for your son, Scott.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about what happened to him?
That's the Soldiers Memorial Fund. Yeah, I lost my son in Special Forces in 2004. A great young man, great Division I college player. He and Pat Tillman they died 2 days apart. And they had the same drill instructor at Fort Benning, Georgia. So a lot of parallels to my son Scott and Pat Tillman.
Wow.
But anyhow, you contribute tax deductible to the Soldiers Memorial Fund, and that's how we're funding a lot of the Extortion 17 project to help the families of the SEAL Team 6 who lost their sons there. So we do good things.
Well, I tell you, I think on Tuesday after Memorial Day, I think is when I first called you, and we had just finished. One of my clients was carrytheload.org, and they're out there raising money as well, and they raised $2 million, sir, for the families of fallen military, police, and fire. Mm-hmm. And this is redistribution of wealth the way it ought to be.
Voluntary.
You
and
got
for
it right.
Great causes.
You got it right.
Yeah.
StandUpAmericaUS.org.
And our Soldiers Fund is soldiersmemorialfund.org. So anybody that can donate, we do a lot of different things for the families and soldiers and active as well as retired.
And you've got, if I'm not mistaken, the link to that on your page is down in the right hand corner.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. So, well, listen, I want to thank you. It's a great radio show, and hopefully we can do a lot more as we go along here.
Absolutely. If you have to go, we understand. We were hoping we could get a little Benghazi out of you, but if you need to go, you've been with us for an hour.
Yeah, really. We spoke a little bit about Benghazi, but there's just so much about everything that is not out there.
We could spend hours, couldn't we?
We definitely have to spend another segment with you if we can.
Sure.
At another date if you got to run. I know it's getting late kind of here, but we certainly do appreciate you, sir, so much. And I just, I'm in awe of your career, yourself, and we thank you and the fact that you gave so much yourself and your son as well. That's something you never get over. And Paul Vallely, Major General, U.S. Army, retired. Again, thank you so much for joining us here on Cowboy Logic Radio. Let me give the websites again for you guys to donate. It's standupamericaus.org. That's standupamericaus.org, and also the Soldiers Memorial Fund. And again, we can find that on your website as well.
General, the theme song that we were talking to you about.
That.
I'm going to play this as we go to break here.
You have to, man. It'll make you cry.
Tell everybody. Donna, did you tell me it's the Mormon Tabernacle?
I think, is that what you said it was, General?
We had members of the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, one of the finest choirs in the world, record the song Stand Up, and bring your handkerchiefs out, and you're going to wipe your eyes because it's such a beautiful video that they did for Stand Up America, and they did this for nothing to contribute to what we were doing. So I would hope everybody will go on the website or listen to you tonight and play the Stand Up theme song.
Is there a place that we can go to get that? I tried to embed
right on
that
the website,
video. It's on your page, right?
Yep.
Okay.
You go right to you Stand Up. You can copy it and take it and use it as much as you want.
Awesome.
Okay, that website
I'm going to play that as we go to break.
Okay, the website is standupamericaus.org. And again, also the Soldiers Memorial Fund. You can find links to that on the website. Well, Paul Vallely, Major General, U.S. Army, retired. Thank you for your 32 years in service, sir, and continued service to our country to try to wake up the sleeping masses. Hopefully we can smack them upside the head a little bit with what we had this last hour or so, and we want to continue to do that again. Keep us abreast of what you're doing. And again, thank you for your service, sir. Paul Vallely, right here on Cowboy Logic Radio.
All eyes are watching to see what you'll do. Who'll take the chance with pride. Yield to our captain, we'll stay by his side, trusting the promise, knowing the power of his name. So let's stand up and take each other's hand. We'll stand up with his power. We can stand up, determined to win in the battle at hand. If together we stand. So let's determined to win in the battle at hand. If together we stand.
Getting choked up and a major pit in my stomach listening to that. Again, we want to thank Major General U.S. Army retired Paul Vallely for joining us. And again, we urge everybody to go to 2 websites and donate, join, help in any way you can to try to get the word out as to many things that the mainstream media is not telling you. Because, you know, bad things happen when good people do nothing.
Wasn't
And
it refreshing? Wasn't it refreshing to hear somebody so far up the chain?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, without a doubt, that's the guy in my entire world that's the furthest up the chain in the military. No, you know, nobody's near there. But isn't it wonderful to be able to listen to somebody speak and know it's real?
Yep. And not politically correct. Yeah. All right, those websites
What an
again.
honor to have him on
It
the
is.
show.
It is, and I hope he'll come back. StandUpAmericaUS.org is where you can go to find out all about the things that are going on overseas in the Middle East, Extortion 17, Benghazi, the chessboard, and again, the Scott Vallely Soldiers Memorial Fund. You know, to have 32 years of service is one thing. To lose a son in service, or to lose a son, period, just that's what chokes me up. That's what got me. And we salute you, sir, again. I hope you're listening. Thank you, and we're going to keep plugging away. And I think we need to put these links also on the CowboyLogic .us website.
Yeah, anybody that's out there, if you want to go ahead and go to the Cowboy Logic Facebook page, throw the links on. We'll do it definitely later, but I know you guys are on your computers right now. Throw those links on our page if you don't mind. You want to take a break and then maybe take some calls?
Yep, we'll take some calls. We'll take a break. Our phone number, 917-675-3200, 917-675-3200. Donna Fiducia, along with Don Neuen on Cowboy Logic Radio.
Out on the web at cowboylogic.us.
You're listening to Cowboy Logic Radio.
I am tired of the United States military being put upon by this commander-in-chief and by all the little creepy left-wingers in this country. I'm sick of it. Oh, what we did in Iraq. What we did in Iraq was righteous. And young men and young women went over there and did it on orders from their president with the support of their Congress. I am not going to tolerate, at least on this program, the attack on our military families, what we've done. We are a great people. We are a beneficent people. We are a tolerant people. These damn puke liberals, if they lived anywhere else on the face of the earth, they'd be in gulags, they'd be enslaved, they'd be tortured or worse. They don't know how good they have it in this country. From the president on down, every day the rest of us who work for a living, who mind our own business, who pay our bills, who ask nothing from anybody, every damn day we have to hear this demagogue, our president, and the vice demagogue, and all the other demagogues who live in the lap of luxury, who take one trip a month, who are spending $1 million on a weekend, our money. We have to hear them lecture us about how our country sucks, how they're going to fix it, how our success and hard work doesn't belong to us, how we don't do enough for them, for their favorite political constituencies, for the government. We have to hear this every damn day, day in and day out, as they hollow out our society, as they destroy our economic system, as they undermine our military, as they leave wide open our borders. We have to hear this crap every single day. And by the way, not just from Democrats, Republicans too. Is there nobody left in public office who will defend our way of life? That's the question. Look at this Republican Party. This Republican Party, born as the anti-slavery party, born as the abolitionist party, prepared to take on the federal government, prepared to take on a third of the states, born in courage. Look at it today. Pathetic. Led by weasels. The Republican Party motto today is, what is the motto today? Let them eat mush. You shouldn't fear illegal aliens. You shouldn't fear the destruction of the culture. You shouldn't fear this. You shouldn't fear that. What are you, a conspiracy nut? What are you, paranoid? From the Republicans. It's unbelievable. So no, I'm not going to give time to mental patients on the left, the philosophy of the stupid. Oh, but don't worry, don't you know, they support the military. Oh, yes. While they're taking their health care away, they support them. You take health care benefits away from men and women who volunteer to defend our country with their lives and give it to people who haven't earned it, who sit on their asses. That's right, I said it. Claim to be victims and claim to have certain economic rights. That is a right to your labor. And I've had enough of it.
You're listening to Cowboy Logic Radio.
Okay, so we know you don't necessarily want to talk to Don Neuen, but we know you want to talk to Donna Fiducia, and you can. Call 917-675-3200, and you'll get to talk to Donna Fiducia, and Don Neuen will sit there and wait patiently.
Mom, I'm home.
Hi, honey. Did you find a job?
Not yet.
Again? Oh, maybe next time.
Maybe not. Why should I get a job? I got a roof over my head, 3 squares, laundry done, and thanks to Obamacare, health care till I'm 26. I've got it made.
That's right, kids. While the administration keeps telling us that the unemployment rate has gone down 0.1% overall, what they don't tell you is that more than 500,000 people have stopped looking for work. So they aren't even counted anymore. If they were, the unemployment rate would be closer to 15%. But wait, there's more. Youth unemployment is already there. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, teenage unemployment is a staggering 16.3%. More like 23% for young black and Hispanic men, the very group Obama has professed he's trying to help. Even the very liberal Huffington Post reported back in 2011 that youth unemployment was, quote, the worst summer on record for young adults looking for work in 2010 and 2011 since the Labor Department started keeping those stats. That's since 1948. In other words, the highest youth unemployment since the Great Depression. Now, with almost 1 million not counted since they gave up looking, it shows no sign of improving. The youth labor participation rate is at an all-time low. Rutgers University professor Charles E. Van Horn said these, quote, unfulfilled expectations for young people trying to get that meaningful early job and failing means increased poverty, the potential to work off the books, atrophy of skills, and an increased reliance on social safety nets. And black teens are even less likely to find work, as those who need work experience the most get the least. Statistics show that young people's first job and early employment history improves their self-esteem, buying power, and overall proves they'll be more successful in life, which can only help the country as a whole. The economy has been shrinking since 2009. The labor participation rate is at an all-time low since they kept those stats back in 1948. So it stands to reason that those with no experience looking for their first job will be the hardest hit. Couple that with kids coming out of college with tens of thousands of dollars in college tuition they'll have a diminished capacity to repay. The social ramifications are also staggering. Any way you cut it, this is record high youth unemployment, period.
So why bother looking anymore? I'll just get turned down or end up with a nothing job when I can hang out in the basement and play Xbox all day. Hey, that way I can live off of everybody else. Thanks, President Obama.
Government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem. Government is the problem. Government is the problem. Government is the problem.
You're listening to Cowboy Logic Radio.
Don't you just wish you could do that to the turds in Congress?
You know, do me a favor. Could you say senator instead of ma'am?
I love these members that get up and say, read the bill.
What difference at this point does it make?
The whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
We know that the free market is nonsense.
This liberal will be all about socializing, will be about basically taking over and the government running all of your companies.
The time has come for unfiltered, politically incorrect common sense. Welcome to the wild world of Cowboy Logic.
Welcome again back to the wild woolly world of Cowboy Logic Radio, where you hear all that politically incorrect stuff the mainstream media refuses to tell you. And I don't want to bash one side or the other. I just want to tell you what information is not getting out there, and you just make your own conclusions from that, which is all well and good. We want to thank again General Paul Vallely for joining us for the last hour or so. Some enlightening stuff and kind of scary stuff too.
I wonder what an hour of his time is really worth. I can't even.
A lot
put a
more than we
price.
paid him. But the web of the Middle East is just unbelievable. It really is a chessboard.
Yeah.
And there are reasons why that game of chess.
And
has
we've got
lasted through
a
the centuries.
caller that called in that listened to the entire Paul Vallely interview and segment. Sam Fearman, you want to intro him?
Yes, Sam. Well, he is a friend of ours, and we also like to talk to him many times because, Sam, not only are you from Pennsylvania, actually, which is where Paul Vallely is from, but you also served overseas in the Israeli army from 81 to 83. So I'd like your take, really, on what you heard the general talk about and really the situation from the Israeli standpoint.
Well, he was an amazing guest.
Yeah.
Wow. He was on point. There were so many things that so many subtle things he said that, wow. He was really, he knows what's going on. He knows exactly what's going on out there. And he totally believes in our government and everything. And he sees what's going on. And you can tell it's killing him. It's killing him. Just the way he spoke and all the years he put into our government. Now he sees what it's like. It was amazing. I don't know, the chessboard. And then he said, you hear what he said towards the beginning when he said, our kids here are getting the same way as they are in the other countries. They're getting to know what our government is like, and they don't like it. That was very interesting that he brought that up.
I sure hope that's true, too, and we can wake up the masses just in our own little way. And again, and let people decide for themselves instead of hearing one side of the argument and a president who goes to commencement speeches and says, oh, you hear about tyranny and everything else. Don't listen to them and don't listen to your parents. Well, that's pretty telling in and of itself right there. Don't listen to your parents. The government from cradle to the grave is going to take care of you. What do you think all this has in store now for Israel and Israel's future?
Well, as the general brought up, he was speaking on Turkey and Syria. It's a very, very, very sensitive issue over there because he was mentioning those players, those chessboard players, and it's the Russians, Iranians, of course, the Turkey. He didn't bring in Israel because, of course, they're a big player over there too. And it's so important that it's just hard to tell. There's so much going on right now. Israel's got their hands full with Hezbollah and Syria and, of course, Russia not backing down. It's just a major issue. Some news I heard this week, very interesting, that Israel just took occupancy of another submarine. Let me step back a second. Their first 4 submarines that they ever got were given to them by the German government. This is debt back to them. And this last one, they paid 50% of the new submarine. This new submarine has the capability of launching nuclear-tipped missiles. Very important. Hate saying it that way, but a fact is a fact. The general brought up, once again, don't put in bases. Use what did he call it, the lily pad?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, very interesting that he said that, because he's right. He's 100% right. I mean, you strike them. Look what Israel just did in Syria. They went from outside, struck with their missiles, took out what they had to do, and did it. Done. The problem is that we don't have the cojones to do it here. That's the saddest part of it all.
How about, I believe the administration leaked some new fortress or something that Israel's building, because apparently it had to go out to, I'm not quite sure, but it had to go out, I guess, for a contract bid, and it was a super, I don't have the information in front of me, but it was a super secret installation that was being built, and the administration leaked it out under the guise of, well, it's going out for a contract bid, so we have to put that out into the general public. And I'm going to try to get more information on that for next week's show as well. And you just got to wonder whose side they're on. That's what really scares me.
Feet on the ground, like you said. His what was it? Stand Up America?
Mm-hmm.
StandUpAmericaUS.org.
US.org. What an amazing. He flat out, he tells us this is what we're doing. We're going in, we're talking to him, we're figuring. And then he's telling you on the other hand, well, we're getting all this information, but our government isn't listening to us. They're a bunch of fools.
Mm-hmm.
And he's right.
Yeah.
He's right. He's so right. And it affects so many players. It's affecting Israel tremendously because Israel's depending on the United States to stand behind them, put their foot down and say, you're not messing with us. All he's doing is talking.
Sam, you've got a lot of friends that are still over in Israel and a lot of friends.
Family there. Mm-hmm.
But guys that you served with that I know you come to me often and go, hey, I was talking to so-and-so the other day about this, talking about this. What are these guys telling you? What's on the front of their mind
because
right now?
Just the other day I spoke to someone and everything is like status quo right now.
What is status quo? Except uneasiness.
It hasn't gotten elevated to a certain level where everyone is on that, really on their toes. It'll get to that level if things don't happen quickly because that red line that is said is a very, very, he's going to stick to his red line.
It's amazing how things
in the spring, summer.
Yeah,
we can't stand by. This is what's going to happen. But it's. People said the other day status quo. 2 weeks earlier, well, we're hearing this, we're hearing that. Then they did all these. How many? 20,000 reservists, Neuen, were called in, and they did a huge operation up on the Syrian border, in the Golan, right up in Syria's face. Look, this is who we are, this is what we're about. It's serious, and without our government standing behind Israel, major problem.
Well, that's what really scares me. Yeah, and they know it. See, the thing is, these people have lived and breathed this whole culture their whole lives. They know exactly what's going on. I always look at the U.S. as the little kid that's naive, that trusts everybody and thinks everybody really is inherently good. It's not. The world is a pretty nasty place, and you've got got now the Muslim Brotherhood. And I'm not just talking about just Muslims, but the Muslim Brotherhood infiltrating essentially this administration at the highest levels, and nobody says anything whatsoever. Only a little over a decade after 9/11. It just blows my mind. And you got to think, if they have the ear of the President of the United States, it's not boding very well for Israel.
You should have seen the look on your face when you found out about Brennan.
Yeah, the CIA head, Brennan, is a Muslim. I was like, whoa. Because if anything else, if it's an Irish-sounding name, just as Paul Vallely said. Who would have thought that?
Unbelievable. And it just doesn't stop.
How does that have the best interest of the United States? I just don't see it. But that's, maybe me.
We had a caller that we dropped trying to call in during the break. If you're still listening, I'd love for you to call in. It looked like it was coming in from a Tennessee number. We'll bring you into the call with Sam if you want to try us back.
The problem is we can't take two calls at the same time.
Well, we can.
It's just hard.
But we had Sam on hold, and I would have not been. It would have been difficult for me to bring that second caller in and let him or her know what was going on at the time.
Because you are not only the co-host, you are also the producer, and I just get to sit here and talk.
I'm Mr. Call Screener.
Let me tell you something.
And the call screener, yeah.
I just got new earbuds. These, what do they call them? The Beats. I haven't used them yet until this show. It sounded so clear, so nice. The music was perfect. It was really good. Oh, and the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, whoa.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
All right, here we've got somebody calling in from Tennessee. Let's bring him in here.
Okay, 917-675-3200 is the number, by the way. Hello, hi.
Hey, Don. Miss Fiducia, this is Sherry Schaefer. I talked to you on Facebook a couple of days ago. Just want to commend y'all on the great job you're doing. And Major General Vallely had me in tears at some time. He was just wonderful. And he really got us thinking this. I wish he'd got some more Benghazi type thing, but
well, we're going to get him back in here for part 2.
Oh, okay.
I had chills listening to what he was saying.
Right.
I did too, because again, you just don't think our government is doing that to us. It can't happen here.
No. And the Brennan situation, our 17-year-old was like, here we got people like that in our way up in our military, way up in our CIA, way up in everything that are Muslims that you wouldn't think would be, and it was really bothering him.
Well, the thing is, clearly, I mean, we've got some friends that are Muslim folks that are great people, but you've got the radicalism.
Yeah, the Muslim Brotherhood is not moderate, and that's the scary part.
No, and it's all this thing about the Arab Spring and stuff. It's all been so wrong. It's just some stuff I've never thought I would see in my lifetime.
Well, and the thing is, we were talking about the Arab Spring and the Muslim Brotherhood and the Caliphate years ago.
Right.
Years ago.
Everybody said, "Oh, you're just a conspiracy
Oh,
theorist."
you're a right-wing nut.
I know. So they don't look at it as. I mean, y'all really got some of our liberal friends thinking seriously.
What part of Tennessee are you in?
Kingsport.
Kingsport, Tennessee. Sam, you been through there recently?
Huh?
Sam, have you been through Kingsport, Tennessee recently?
Kingsport, Tennessee. Where's that near? I might have.
That's up in the Johnson City area.
Right, northeast Tennessee.
Johnson City. Oh yeah, 81 up in that area. Oh yeah, 8140. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Do you have a question you want to ask Sam? Sam served in the Israeli army for a number of years and has a pretty good grasp of what's going on over in the Middle East. You want to ask him anything?
I'd have to think on that. It wouldn't take too long. Your show's not over. But I want to commend him on his service.
Well, thank you.
That's a hard thing to do. And I'd say you miss your homeland sometimes. But we appreciate you being here too.
Yeah, so do we.
He's from America, but he was such a badass kid when he was growing up. His father sent him to Israel to graduate high school.
Oh my God.
He's American. Sam, where are you from? Pennsylvania?
No. Rockland County.
Rockland County. That's right. You tell me that all the time, and I always forget. But you lived in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
No, he's from New York. Can't you tell he's from New York?
No, not really. My brother was at West Point. We were from the South. He was called Fort Young the whole time he was up there.
Is he still serving?
No, he got out a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I hear it when I come down here too. Where are you from? You're not from Atlanta, are you? No, I'm sorry.
Oh well.
But I'm a
we're
redneck
all proud
now.
Americans. That's the main thing.
And that is the main thing. And we want what's best for America. And you know what? I really, and I've said this before, I almost wish there was a Republican in the White House because I'd say the same damn thing.
Right.
I don't care. I just want what's best for America, and what's best for America is not what this administration is doing.
And we're not on the right road now. And you get that feeling like you're on a sinking ship with Obama at the helm. He's controlling all of us, but that's a bunch of BS. We can stand up for.
You want to really put this country in? We have a couple of bad hurricanes. We have a couple of super bad natural disasters. It'll put the country, because it's bad now. It's rough. You think about it.
Yeah.
Where our country's going and all this corruption and all this, and then everyone gets in turmoil over which way do we go.
Yeah. And the scandals, I don't see how they're sleeping at night.
Well, they don't have
scandals.
Yeah.
The morals and the conscience, that
they have agendas. They don't have morals. They have agendas, unfortunately, and that is what an ideologue does. They could care less about the country. They care about their backsides and their political agenda. And that really is sad, because this country, they criticize this country, or they say this is the greatest country on earth, but they want to change it. Well, if you want to if it's the greatest country on earth, why do you want to change it? People
Exactly.
come here for a reason.
Exactly. And what gets me is they're covering up stuff, like the Steel Team Sticks thing that I watched. I think you all may have put it out on Cowboy Logic on the Facebook
Yep.
page.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, that was many thanks to Myra. I hope I'm
cried.
pronouncing her name right. Our friend Myra posted that. We reposted it. And I tell you what, I love the Cowboy Logic Patriots, by gosh. We're up over 300, and I hope it'll continue to grow, and the support that we're getting from everybody out there just like you.
It's like
and we do thank you for it.
Okay. We thank y'all for what you're doing. And y'all have a good evening.
You too. Thank you for
so
calling
much.
in.
Spread the word.
Bye-bye.
Next Tuesday, 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time. Same goes for you, Sam. Same bat time. Same bat channel.
Bat channel.
Yes.
We're going to be next week. Okay, you'll have a little music in the background because I'll be at Bonnaroo.
Oh, you're going to be at Bonnaroo? Oh, gosh.
Who all's going to be there, Sam?
Paul McCartney, ZZ Top, Government Mule, R. Kelly. There's like 150 bands.
Paul
with
McCartney
multiple
is going to be
stages.
at Bonnaroo?
Bonnaroo, yeah.
No
Tom Petty.
kidding. Wow.
Yeah.
And Paul and Sam's going to be up there too.
Yeah.
I'm going to be up there hanging out with Hank Hill and a few other people from
He's
the
just
Cartoon
dropping
Network.
names now.
No, Hank Hill from Adult Swim. But let me tell you, he was great. The General was unbelievable. I wanted to call him and speak with him, but I was just in awe.
I'm telling you, man.
By everything he was saying. He was wow.
Yep.
It was an honor to have him, as it was
It
you,
really
sir.
was. Yep.
All right, Sam. Have a great night.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, buddy.
All right.
And you want to tell us about our show next week?
No, I want to get Stand Up again ready to play.
Okay.
And let you tell them about next week's show.
We are going to have a woman named Lisa Daftari on the show. We've been talking so much about the Middle East and what General Vallely was saying, basically the chessboard of what's going on. She is also a Middle East expert. She is a Fox commentator as well. We're going to have her on next week to continue this conversation about what is going on in the Middle East and the infiltration of the Muslim Brotherhood into this administration, and quite frankly, the caliphate, and what is the agenda of radical Islam.
Yeah, we initially approached her to talk about Middle East counterterrorism.
Yes.
And then when she was talking to Donna, basically said, yeah, definitely, let's talk about that. Mm-hmm. But more importantly, let's bring it home. Let's talk about what's going on here. Mm-hmm. And I got a feeling next week's going to creep me out pretty good.
Yeah, this week sort of creeped me out pretty good in some respects. Let me just plug the General's goodies again. And I know everybody says, well, you have to go off at 11 o'clock. No, we don't. It's our own show. We can stay on as long as we want. There's no such thing as a hard out. I don't get clipped by the computer. I'm loving that.
We had a major general on our show. We can do whatever he allows us to do.
Na. All right, it's standupamericaus.org, and for his son Scott Vallely, who was killed, it's the Soldiers Memorial Fund. But if you go to standupamericaus.org, all the information should be on that website. And we're going to try to link that in also on our Cowboy Logic website as well, which is cowboylogic.us. We'll also archive the show and have that up probably in the next 24 hours. If you missed any of the show or you want to hear it again, which I am definitely going to do tomorrow, is listen again, because it was amazing to hear some of the insight from General Paul Vallely. Again, Major General, U.S. Army, 32 years of service. Sir, we do totally salute you, and we hope to have him on again to shed more light as to what's going on around the world. And we're going to leave you with his theme song, which I guess is part of the standupamericaus.org. The theme, again, keep the Kleenex handy because you're going to
need it. The video is on the site.
Okay, good.
It's up at the top, right-hand side. You click play, you get to hear the song, but most importantly, you get to watch the video.
Great.
And I've seen it a couple of times, and he hit the nail on the head. You get misty watching this.
Yes, you do.
But we're going to play it on the way out.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. It's been real, and I totally enjoy it. It's great to be back on the air as well every Tuesday from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm Donna Fiducia, along with Don Neuen on Cowboy Logic Radio. Again, cowboylogic.us. Good night, everyone.
All eyes are watching to see what you'll do. Who'll take the chance and make the first move? Will you shun the praise of the world in the moment of truth? The trumpets are sounding, the drums start to roll. The tempter is waging a war for your soul, and victory belongs to those who will fight to the end. So let's stand up and take each other's hands. We'll stand up with His power. We can stand up, determined to win the battle at hand. Together we stand. All our desires to follow His way. We'll never leave Him. We'll never stray. Finally believing, finally taking a stand. When unbridled passions would fill us with pride, yield to our captain, we'll stay by His side, trusting the promise, knowing the power of His name. So let's stand up and take each other's hand. We'll stand up with His power. We can stand up, determined to win the battle at hand. If together we So let's determined to win the battle at hand. If together we stand.
Cowboy Logic Radio. Unfiltered, politically incorrect, common sense. You've been listening to Cowboy Logic Radio, a division of Donna Fiducia Production.